Happy 4th of July, everyone. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com. They represent 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. A couple things to note. We look at the IR satellite pictures here. First of all, this is Hurricane Barbara, a Category 3 hurricane. Forecast to diminish it to a tropical storm and eventually a tropical depression as it winds its way toward Hawaii, running over slightly colder water temperatures. Second tropical system forecast to spin up to a tropical storm attitude briefly, and then get down into a tropical depression once again as it loses intensity over some colder water. Big deal here, we have a trough of lower pressure. You can see these tan lines. They represent about 500 hectopascals. The thickness lines, this is a trough, kind of emanates from this area of low pressure way up in Canada. And then we have the big ridge of higher pressure. Typically when we have a trough in the west, we have high pressure in the east, and indeed this is bringing some pretty fabulous weather. A little bit of high cloudiness streaming over Vermont, no issues there. A little bit of fog this morning, but dew point temperatures and the real tropical air mass is holding back to the south. As I hit dew points here, you can kind of see where these temperatures closer to 70 degrees are. The current readings in terms of temperature are basically pretty much everywhere. So slightly drier, less humid area under this ridge of higher pressure with subsidence, and that's going to set the stage. But increasingly what we're looking at is more and more moisture beginning to work in terms of higher dew point temperatures, as well as in precipitable water that will be about 1 to 2 standard deviations. Nothing unusual really, but that's going to work through on Saturday, and that's going to allow for that moisture for thunderstorms out ahead of this cold front here. You might want to notice also that this trough of lower pressure in the interior western areas picks up very low dew point temperatures. That will sort of advect into the region, and we'll see a real change in the dryness from rather moist, sultry conditions on Saturday, and a big transition as we go into Sunday. Let's take a look at some of the weather maps. Okay, you're looking at the deterministic model of the ECMWF, the European model. And take note of, on the left-hand panel side here, this is basically the overnight modeling. Came out this morning, and this is from yesterday. So you can compare notes. They're relatively close. So what we have here is a little bit of precipitation trying to make a run at us through parts of Pennsylvania and New York. Never really gets there. This is valid 2 o'clock on Friday. Still another dry day, although it gets pretty warm and a slight increase in humidity through the day. Now by Friday night into Saturday morning, this is when we see a little bit of pop-up shower activity, mainly across western and portions of northern Vermont. This is valid about 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So Saturday morning we'll start to see some a very sultry scenario there with some pop-up showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. The main action is really going to be during the day and mostly confined to the afternoon, as it looks right now, with a couple different rounds of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday. That will be the main utility issue, and we're looking at primarily lightning, but there could be some localized gusty winds, and 1 or 2 of the thunderstorms could also be locally heavy. But that moves on out. We get drastically drier air as high pressure begins to build into Vermont during the night on Saturday night into the morning hours on Sunday. The area of higher pressure then sets up once again for several days of dry weather. Take a look at that. We're already into Tuesday, Wednesday, and even into Thursday as it looks right now. Beyond this period, we're looking at dry weather continuing. This is going to really lower the soil moistures considerably, and it's really not until along about Thursday night and into the Thursday night, Friday scenario that we find the next precipitation event. So we'll have to wait and see. Now note, the models have come undone at this point. This is both the European 12 hours later than what we're seeing here, and you can see quite a difference. So that tells you the computer modeling world is a little bit not on target at that point in time. But overall, right into the end of next week, we're looking pretty cherry. This is precipitable water in terms of anomalous precipitable water and standard deviation. So the red is above normal, extra moisture. 0 is what we find now, and near normal or so. And then this is below normal. So what we have right now across the northeast United States is relatively dry conditions, and indeed we don't have any precipitation to worry about, even though dew point temperatures are on the increase. But you can see here this moisture comes in and right through up to New York. Now take a look at this. You can see 2 to 3 standard deviations right up to the north and west of the Champlain Valley over toward the Ottawa Valley. This is valid about 15Z on Friday, so that is about 11 o'clock in the morning hours on Friday. So continuing to watch that, it has a tendency to move to the north and west of us. It still remains relatively dry over Vermont, and you can see that finally we succumb to those higher precipitable water, those metrics at moisture. And note here, there's a kind of a double kind of deal here. This is depicting, it's a little bit diffuse, but you can depict one basic line of showers and thunderstorms more than likely in the morning hours, at least maybe in isolated or scattered nature. And another line, this is out ahead of the main cold front, which separates the much cooler and drier air and depicts standard deviations 1 to 3 standard deviation sigma below normal. So you'll see how that works in. There's the front. This is valid toward the evening hours on Sunday, Saturday evening and into Sunday morning, and you can see how that dries out. Now that green is special because that is 3 standard deviations, 2 to 3 standard deviations of below normal moisture. So very, very dry conditions. It's going to be fabulous project weather. This is what you want to see. If you're looking for extended periods of project weather, look at all that blue. That is below normal standard deviation and precipitable water, a really good metric to use. And it really does depict. Our next shot of moisture comes in probably along about Thursday night or Friday. That's a long ways out. Okay, you're looking at the GFS ensemble. This is centered on Montpelier, Vermont, and this is 3-hourly QPF. So what we see here is our next incoming precipitation, and a little bit different look the way it's set up here vertically. So we're looking at kind of a double entendre here, a little bit of a double shot. So one line of showers and storms potentially, and the next line in the afternoon, all of this on Saturday. And then eventually, as we get into the evening hours, things fall off, and you're looking at really no measurable precipitation until way down around the corner here. Now let's take a look at the total amounts of QPF, and you can see that it's not too high, but it's running on average. The thick black line there is running about 0.8 of an inch or so. The latest deterministic model has cut that back, and it's one of the more lower values, only about 0.5 an inch. And the European is in total agreement with these ideas of trending downward in total precipitation. Model 2-meter temperature, you can see here that once they give us the warmest day today, July the 4th, Thursday, and then tail that down, the European is a little bit more taking the highest temperature tomorrow, and then we cool things off just a little bit. You can kind of see the realm there. Let's overlay dew point temperature, or show just dew point temperature. And you can see that that really does max out with that precipitable water. That's on basically Friday night, Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon. That dew point temperature makes a big time fall, and then you can see the dew point temperatures are very comfortable, basically in the 40s. This is going to be some spectacularly dry and good project weather for our local utilities and elsewhere. And you can see 850 hectopascal level wind. In terms of low-level jets are pretty much limited. We're talking maybe some gusts up in the 20s. That's going to be about it. It's very, very little wind. Okay, Weather Prediction Center, total QPF for the next 7 days. You can see this is the green line, and that illustrates this is 2,500ths of an inch. That's about a 1/2 inch of rainfall. The next line here, blue, is about 1 inch amount. So you kind of see a storm track taking a track here. Not really a big deal, and then another little bit of a track that kind of tries to nestle up, and that's really has to do with what's all going to fall on Saturday, and you see a little bit more out west and into the upper Midwest and so forth. Temperature-wise, you're looking at near normal temperatures, if anything just a little bit above normal. About 3 days later, a little bit above normal is what is indicated, and this is 3 to 7 days from the Weather Prediction Center for Model Output Statistics, or MOS, daytime high temperatures only. And we'll end with a look at the entire world picture at large. climate reanalyzer, and you can see our above normal temperatures here depicted. A little cooler in the parts of the west, the upper Midwest, and so forth. It's warmed up in the Canadian archipelago, Greenland just a bit. It was very warm in Europe last week. This has since cooled on down, and that warming has moved east into Siberia. And you can see that there's some cool spots and then another warming area. Alaska seems to be getting warmer as well. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.